We were homeless at 17. Then we found a hidden greenhouse that only saves people it chooses. Before we begin, make sure to join our YouTube family by hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like the video and share some love in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from and what time it is in your country. Now, get comfortable, because this story is about to begin. The day we were thrown out didn't feel real at first. It felt like one of those bad moments that would pass if you just waited long enough. But it didn't. "Take your things and leave," our aunt said, her voice cold and flat, like she had already made the decision long before that moment. I stood there, frozen, trying to understand how everything could end so quickly. "Please, just let us stay tonight," I said. She didn't even look at me. No, that one word closed the door on everything. Sammy, my younger brother, stood beside me holding his small bag. His fingers were wrapped tightly around the strap, his knuckles pale. "Are we really going?" he asked quietly. I looked at him. I wanted to lie. I wanted to say no, that everything would be okay, that we would go back inside. But the door behind us had already shut. "Yes," I said softly. We stepped outside. And just like that, we had no home. We walked without direction. At first, we stayed close to the town, hoping maybe someone we knew would help. But every familiar place suddenly felt different, closed, distant, like we didn't belong anymore. So we kept walking. The road turned quieter. The houses disappeared. The sounds of people faded until there was nothing left but the wind and our footsteps. Sammy stayed close to me the whole time. "Where are we going?" he asked again after a while. "Somewhere safe," I said. But inside, I wasn't sure such a place even existed. The sun moved slowly across the sky, bright and warm. But it didn't make things feel better. It only reminded me that soon it would be night, and we had nowhere to go. Sammy's steps slowed. "I'm tired," he said. "I know," I replied gently. "Just a little more." But I didn't know how much longer he could keep going. Then, in the distance, I saw it. A line of trees. A forest. It wasn't too thick, but it stretched wide, covering the land ahead. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was something. "Let's go there," I said. Sammy looked unsure, but he nodded. We walked toward the trees, leaving the open land behind. As soon as we stepped into the forest, the air changed. Cooler, quieter. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating soft patterns on the ground. For the first time that day, I felt like we could stop. "Let's rest here for a bit," I said. Sammy sat down near a tree, dropping his bag beside him. "I don't like this," he whispered. "It's okay," I said, sitting next to him. "We're together. That's enough." He leaned against me. We stayed like that for a while, quiet, still, trying to ignore the reality of what had happened. Then Sammy lifted his head slightly. "Do you smell that?" he asked. I paused. At first, I didn't notice anything. Then slowly, I did. A soft, fresh scent. Sweet, like flowers, but stronger, cleaner. It didn't belong in a place like this. I stood up. "Yeah, I smell it too." Sammy looked around, curious now. "It's coming from somewhere." We both stood. The scent grew stronger as we moved deeper into the forest. Step by step, we followed it. Branches brushed against our arms. Leaves crunched softly under our feet. The forest seemed to guide us. And then we saw it. Hidden between the trees, almost invisible at first. A greenhouse, old, covered in vines. The glass was dusty, and parts of it were cracked. It looked abandoned. But the scent, it was coming from inside. Sammy's eyes widened. "Whoa!" I stepped closer. Something about it felt strange. Not dangerous, just different. The sunlight hit the glass, and through it I could see something unexpected. Green. Bright green. Plants. Alive. Healthy. "How is that possible?" I whispered. Everything outside looked normal. But inside, it was like a different world. Sammy walked up beside me. "Can we go in?" he asked. I hesitated. This place didn't make sense, but at the same time, we needed somewhere to stay. Somewhere safe. "Stay close," I said. He nodded. I reached for the door and pushed it open. It creaked loudly, the sound echoing in the quiet forest. We stepped inside, and everything changed. The air felt warmer, softer. The scent surrounded us completely now, fresh, clean, almost calming. Plants filled every corner. Vines climbed the walls. Fruits hung from branches. Leaves stretched toward the light. It was beautiful. Too beautiful. Sammy smiled. "It's like it's alive," he said. I nodded slowly, but my chest felt tight, because something about this place felt like it was more than just a greenhouse. It felt aware, like it knew we were there. Then, the door behind us slammed shut. The sound echoed sharply. We both turned instantly. Sammy ran to it and grabbed the handle. "It's stuck!" he said, pulling hard. I stepped closer, my heart starting to race. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. We hadn't just found this place. We had walked into it. And now, it wasn't letting us leave. Sammy kept pulling on the door, harder and harder, like if he just tried enough, it would suddenly open. "It's not working," he said, panic rising in his voice. "Move," I told him gently. I grabbed the handle myself and pulled with all my strength. Nothing. The door didn't move even a little. Not stuck, not jammed. It felt locked from the outside. My heart started beating faster. Okay, it's fine," I said, even though it didn't feel fine at all. "There has to be another way out." Sammy looked at me, his eyes wide. "What if there isn't?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. The air inside the greenhouse felt different now, heavier, like something had changed the moment the door shut. Then, a soft rustling sound came from behind us. We both turned at the same time. The plants were moving. Not because of wind. There was no wind. They were moving on their own. Leaves shifting. Vines sliding slowly across the ground. Sammy stepped closer to me. "Do you see that?" "Yes," I said quietly. Every instinct told me to stay still, to watch, to understand what was happening before reacting. One long vine lifted slowly from the ground. It moved carefully through the air, like it was reaching out. Sammy's grip tightened on my arm. "It's alive," he whispered. The vine stopped in front of us. For a second, nothing happened. Then it gently lowered something onto the ground between us. A fruit, small, round, bright green. The vine pulled back slowly, like it had done its job. We both stared at the fruit. "Don't touch it," Sammy said quickly. I hesitated, but something inside me said this wasn't a threat. Not yet. Slowly, I bent down and picked it up. It felt warm, like it had just grown. Sammy leaned closer. "What is it?" "I don't know," I said. Before I could think any further, the fruit cracked open in my hand. Sammy jumped back. "What just happened?" I stared down at it. Inside, there was no seed. Instead, there was a small, folded piece of paper. My chest tightened. Carefully, I pulled it out and opened it. There were words written inside. Clear, neat, not old, fresh. "Only those with nothing may stay." I read it out loud. Sammy frowned. "What does that mean?" I looked around the greenhouse, at the plants, at the vines, at the closed door. "It means this place chooses who can be here," I said slowly. Sammy swallowed. "And we have nothing." I nodded. "Yes." Another soft sound came from above us. We looked up. A fruit dropped from one of the vines, then another, and another. They landed gently around us. Sammy picked one up carefully this time. His hands were shaking. "Should I open it?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." He cracked it open slowly. Inside, another piece of paper. He unfolded it. His eyes moved across the words. Then he looked up at me. "It says, 'The Purity Greenhouse protects, but it tests.'" My chest felt tight again. Tests? So this wasn't just a place to stay. It was something more. Something that decided. Something that watched. "Tests what?" Sammy asked. Before I could answer, the ground beneath our feet shifted. We both froze. A low sound echoed from below us. Then slowly, a section of the floor began to move. It slid open, revealing a hidden space underneath. A narrow path. Steps leading down into darkness. Sammy stepped back quickly. No, I don't want to go down there." I didn't blame him. Everything about this felt wrong. But also, it felt important. Like this was the reason we were brought here. The greenhouse wasn't just giving us shelter. It was asking something from us. I looked at the messages again. Only those with nothing may stay. The greenhouse protects, but it tests. I took a deep breath. I think this is the test, I said. Sammy shook his head. What if it's dangerous? I looked at him. It might be. He stared at the dark opening. And if we don't go? I hesitated. Then I said quietly, I don't think it will let us stay. The plants around us rustled softly again, like they were listening, waiting. Sammy looked at me, fear clear in his eyes. I don't want to lose you, he said. My chest tightened. You won't, I said firmly. I promise. He nodded slowly. I stepped closer to the opening. The darkness below looked deep, unknown, but I couldn't turn back. Not now. Not when this might be our only chance. I looked at Sammy. Stay behind me, I said. He took a shaky breath. Okay. I placed one foot on the first step, then another. The air grew cooler as we started going down. The light from above faded slowly. The sounds of the greenhouse became distant, but something else replaced them. A soft humming. Low, constant, like something alive deep below the ground. Sammy whispered, Do you hear that? Yes, I said. And the deeper we went, the louder it became, until finally we reached the bottom. And what we saw there made us both stop completely. Because this wasn't just a hidden room. This was something far bigger, far stranger. And whatever it was, it had been waiting for us to arrive. We stood frozen at the bottom of the steps. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Because what we were looking at didn't feel real. The entire underground room was filled with roots. Not small ones, not normal ones. These were huge, thick, glowing roots that stretched across the walls, the ceiling and the floor, like a giant living network. They pulsed softly with green light, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. Sammy's fingers tightened around my arm. What is this? I took a careful step forward. The ground beneath my feet felt slightly warm. It's connected to the greenhouse, I said quietly. It had to be. The plants above, the vines, the fruit. This was where it all came from. This was the heart of it. The humming sound we heard earlier, it was coming from here, from the roots. Alive, watching, breathing. Sammy shook his head slowly. This isn't normal. No, I said. It's not. But somehow, it didn't feel like it wanted to hurt us. Not yet. One of the roots near the center began to move. Slowly, carefully. It lifted from the ground and twisted in the air. Sammy stepped back, fear clear on his face. It's coming toward us. Wait, I said, raising my hand slightly. The root stopped just a few feet away from us. It hovered in the air. Then slowly, it began to change shape. Bending, twisting, forming something. Letters, words. We both stared in shock as the glowing root formed a clear sentence in front of us. Why should you be saved? Sammy's voice shook. Saved from what? I didn't answer, because I didn't think that was the real question. This place already knew why we were here. It already knew we had nothing. Now it wanted to know something else, something deeper. Answer it, Sammy whispered. Say something. My mind raced. What do you say to something like this? What do you prove? That we're good? That we deserve help? That we're not like others? I looked at Sammy. His eyes were filled with fear, but also trust. He believed in me, and that meant something. I took a deep breath. We don't have anything, I said slowly. The roots pulsed softly, listening. We lost our home. We have nowhere to go. The room stayed silent. The glowing roots didn't move, didn't react. So I kept going. But we didn't give up, I said, my voice stronger now. I didn't leave him, and he didn't leave me. Sammy squeezed my hand tightly. We stayed together, I said. Even when everything else was gone. The room went completely still. The glowing roots stopped pulsing for a moment, like everything was holding its breath. Then the light returned, stronger than before. The roots began to glow brighter, their green light spreading across the entire room. Warm, soft, safe. The words shifted, changed. Then you are not empty. Sammy blinked. What does that mean? I looked at him. It means we still have something, I said quietly. Each other. The root slowly lowered itself back to the ground. The other roots followed, settling into place. The humming sound softened. The light dimmed just slightly, but the feeling in the room had changed. It wasn't testing us anymore. It had decided. Then, a sound came from above. A sharp click. Sammy looked up. The door! We both turned and ran toward the steps. Up, faster. Our footsteps echoed loudly as we climbed. The light from above grew brighter with each step. We reached the top and stepped back into the greenhouse. The air felt different now. Lighter. Warmer. The door was open. Sunlight poured inside. Sammy stared at it in disbelief. It opened. I nodded slowly. It chose us. He looked around at the plants. At the vines. Everything seemed more alive now. Stronger. Brighter. Like the greenhouse itself was breathing easier. Sammy smiled. A real smile. The first one I had seen since we were thrown out. Does that mean we can stay? He asked. I looked around. At the shelter. At the life inside this place. At the safety it offered. Yes, I said. I think it does. We stepped outside for a moment. The forest didn't feel as heavy anymore. The wind moved gently through the trees. For the first time since we left the house, I didn't feel lost. I turned back toward the greenhouse, but something caught my attention. The glass. It wasn't empty anymore. Faint words had appeared across the surface, barely visible unless you looked closely. I stepped closer. Sammy followed. What does it say? He asked. I read the words slowly. Others will come, but not all will be chosen. Sammy's smile faded slightly. What does that mean? I looked at the greenhouse, at the hidden world inside it. It means this place doesn't just protect, I said quietly. It decides. Sammy looked at me. Decides what? I didn't answer right away, because deep down, I already knew. It decides who gets a second chance, I said. The wind moved softly through the trees again. The greenhouse stood silent behind us. But now, it didn't feel like just a place anymore. It felt like something watching, something waiting. And as I stood there, one thought stayed in my mind. If others were coming, then someday, this place would have to decide again.